Race cars are officially back on track as of this weekend. Today we're talking about NASCAR's new changes to the Hall of Fame voting procedure, and esports is getting quite a big boost. We have a lot to discuss today. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome to weekend edition of Out of the Groove. Dang, look at this lighting. I'm filming during like the golden hour, and here in Los Angeles, the film industry, golden hour is pretty special. So I gotta say, lighting looks pretty good for just me sitting in my car. Anyway, we have a lot of stuff to discuss today. I wanna get right to it. Before I get started, a couple things to note. If you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or if you saw my post, I guess, on my YouTube community page, I will be in attendance for all 3 of the NASCAR West Coast swing races here at the start of the year. I'll be on the ground in person, filming, of course, as always, giving you guys a behind the scenes look at what a typical NASCAR race weekend looks like. But I will be there for Las Vegas, here, second race of the season. I'll be at Auto Club Speedway, which is just about an hour down the freeway from me right now, and I will be at Phoenix. 3 races, 3 weeks, and 3 tracks that I've never actually seen a race at until hopefully this month. So if you guys are gonna be at any of those races, keep an eye on your Twitter feeds, your Instagram. I'll be making some announcements hopefully relatively soon. I'm planning on doing some sort of meetups at each of those races. So if you're in the area, if you're gonna be at those tracks, keep an eye out, and I hope you come say hi. I'm really tall, and I'll definitely be running around filming with the camera, so I won't be hard to spot. But anyway, just want to get that out there. I'll have more details coming hopefully pretty soon, but really excited. I've had some really cool opportunities kind of thrown my way here the last few weeks, and hoping to make the most of them, and hoping to bring you guys some really awesome content as well. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know about that. And also, if you missed it yesterday, I uploaded an interview with Jordan Anderson, Truck Series driver / team owner. He was really cool to stop by and chat with us about his thoughts on the upcoming Truck Series season. His team, has gone through a lot of changes recently, and so he was really cool to sit down and talk with. So if you missed that video from yesterday, I encourage you to go check it out. Kind of a good way to get previewed for the upcoming Truck Series season, which starts in less than a week. But anyway, with that all out of the way, let's talk about some news. All right, it's been a few days. I've been doing a bunch of other videos in the meantime. I haven't really been talking about the news too much, but we have some things to catch up on. So remember last week, NASCAR inducted 5 new members to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. We talked about it then. It was a really cool ceremony, really deserving members, of course. But this week, NASCAR revealed changes to their future voting process. So in years past, basically as long as the Hall of Fame has been around, NASCAR has inducted 5 new members a year. It's always got to be 5, not 4, not 3, not 7, 5. But going forward, starting with this upcoming vote in May for the class of 2021, that is going to change. In a nutshell, NASCAR is reducing the number of members inducted per year from 5 down to 3, and they're separating it into the modern era and the pioneer era. Every year, the voting panel is going to nominate 10 modern era candidates, and a new honors panel, mostly consisting of like past Hall of Famers, of course, they will nominate 5 members every year for the pioneer ballot. And so then ultimately, once they vote, once they discussed everything, 2 members each year will be selected from the modern era ballot, and 1 member will be selected from the pioneer ballot to actually be inducted into the Hall of Fame. To be eligible for the modern era ballot, your career must have started within the last 60 years, and you remain eligible on the modern ballot for 10 years, after which you will then go to the pioneer ballot. And so yeah, that's one of the things the pioneer ballot will consist of. The pioneer ballot will also consist of people whose careers started more than 60 years ago. And so really, what does this mean? It means that NASCAR has made their Hall of Fame more exclusive. It's more elite now. In fact, Jeff Gluck from The Athletic wrote a pretty good article about this that kind of summarized a lot of things. He noted that Jim Paschal is the now winningest Cup Series driver to not be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. He ended his career many years ago with 25 Cup Series wins, and he is currently the winningest driver to not yet be in the Hall of Fame. So Jeff Gluck kind of called that 25 win mark the Paschal line, if you will. If you're above that, if you have more than 25 wins, chances are you'll make it into the Hall of Fame. If you're under 25 wins for your career, good chance you won't make it into the Hall of Fame. That's kind of become the cutoff by default so far. And the reason this makes the Hall of Fame more exclusive is now they don't have to induct 5 people a year. They're only inducting 3, and technically only 2 of those are from the modern era. So there are a lot of drivers that might be borderline Hall of Fame worthy that now, with this new rule change, with the new format change, I guess, and they might now see their Hall of Fame chances diminish quite a bit. Jeff Gluck mentions Greg Biffle, who had 19 wins in his career, Casey Kane, who had 18 Cup wins, Jeff Burton, who had 21 wins, or Ryan Newman, who currently has 18 wins as well, as drivers who maybe in the past were considered borderline Hall of Famers, who now they have quite an uphill battle to make it into the Hall of Fame, because all of those drivers I just named are below the Paschal line, and none of those drivers I just named have won Cup Series championships. Obviously, just Cup wins and Cup championships aren't the only thing they look at when getting into the Hall of Fame. You know, Biffle's won truck championships. You know, all those other drivers, you know, Newman has a Daytona 500. All those other drivers have had plenty of success, but when I just look at wins, those are guys now that might not be in the Hall of Fame anytime soon. Will guys like Carl Edwards, who had 28 wins in his career, or Dale Earnhardt Jr., 26 wins, will they still make it into the Hall of Fame in a timely manner? Maybe, but they may now have to wait an extra couple of years because they're only inducting 2 a year from the modern era ballot. That's gonna slow things down quite a bit for some of these guys who are kind of borderline. I think the timing on this change is right. You know, I think NASCAR is starting to get to the point where if they were consistently inducting 5 people a year, at some point they would start letting guys in that probably aren't really worthy of it because they need to fill that 5th spot, that 4th, you know. The truth is, at some point, there are not gonna be 5 Hall of Fame worthy NASCAR, you know, competitors eligible every year. So now that a lot of the legends have been inducted, now that a lot of the more modern legends, you know, Jeff Gordon's in, Mark Martin's in, you know, a lot of team owners now are in the Hall of Fame, Tony Stewart's in now. Now that you got the legends like Richard Petty and David Pearson, you know, that whole era, you got the, you know, the Dale Earnhardts, the Jeff Gordons, those guys are in now as well. I think this is the time to make this change. Now it's become a little bit more exclusive, and I think it's the right decision. They had to make this decision at some point because otherwise, you know, letting 5 people in a year was just gonna be too much. You'd be letting in people at some point that just weren't worthy anymore. You gotta keep some level of exclusivity to the Hall of Fame. You know, it's the NASCAR Hall of Fame for a reason. Every sport has their Hall of Fame, and the criteria should be steep to get into the Hall of Fame. It's an immortalizing thing. So I think the timing on this is right. There are certain competitors and drivers that you might be kind of hosed as a result of this. See some of the names I just mentioned. They might have to wait a little while, might have to wait forever, but ultimately I think this was the right move by NASCAR. But it is interesting. It's definitely going to add some new layers of conversation around the NASCAR Hall of Fame vote every year. Now this May is the upcoming vote. We know Dale Earnhardt Jr. is eligible. Originally NBC reported that Matt Kenseth would be eligible on this ballot, but then I saw a tweet from Bob Pockrass earlier this week that said Kenseth will not be eligible this year because he made 15 starts in 2018. So that makes it sound like Kenseth will have to wait until 2022 to become eligible for the ballot. Carl Edwards is eligible this year. So there are still some big name drivers that will have a shot at getting in this year. But with this new rule change, is Dale Jr. a first ballot Hall of Famer? I think that really changes the answer to that question, perhaps. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about there. I gotta hurry. This golden hour is going a lot quicker. It's more like a golden 15 minutes. I'm gonna lose my light before long here. NASCAR has also revealed all of the dates and locations of the remaining next-gen car tests. They've already done 3 single car tests of the next-gen prototype, at least. Richmond, Phoenix, and Homestead have been the 3 tests so far, but now, and they've released a lot of the dates. I'm just gonna scroll through them really quick. Here you go. They've got 2 scheduled for March, 1 in April, then 1 in May, 1 in June, July, and starting in August, all of the teams will have access to the next gen car, so they will all be conducting their own testing from August, you know, on through December. And you can see all these tests, a lot at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Definitely feels like the focus is on the intermediates here with a lot of these tests, but definitely, you know, some short tracks and you know, other tracks mixed in there as well, including a super speedway. So basically NASCAR has 6 more tests where it's just gonna be 1, maybe 2 cars on track at a time. It's gonna basically be that kind of generic next gen prototype we've seen. Not sure what the car is gonna look like, what changes they might make track to track, but that's what we're gonna see for the next 6 tests. And then after that, once all of the race teams now have their version of the next gen car in their possession, they can start doing their own testing. And so at all those other tests, we can theoretically see a bunch of cars on track at a time. We can start to maybe see how these things are gonna race in traffic, which is probably what most fans wanna see or are most anxious to see. So that definitely will be interesting. Up until then, we're really just looking at cosmetic changes and having to theorize and having to speculate about what that's gonna actually do to the racing product. So it'll be exciting once we get past August to see you know, how these cars perhaps race up against each other at a variety of racetracks. So that's good to see. NASCAR is definitely pushing this car along very quickly. The fact that the race teams are only gonna get this car in their possession for the first time at the end of August, the fact that this thing is expected to debut in this coming February, we're only a year away from the next gen car theoretically being competition ready. I don't know, the teams are definitely rushed. It's definitely being rushed a little bit, but NASCAR has been bullish about their schedule for this car, and so far they've stuck to it pretty well. So hopefully they're not making a mistake here. We've talked about that in past episodes, whether they're making a mistake by rushing, whether they're not, whether this is the smart move to make. I think so far from what we've seen in the single car tests, the next gen car has mostly received positive reviews from what I can tell. I think NASCAR is going the right direction, but I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. The verdict is still out really until next February. We'll really finally see what the cars race like and look like. Anyway, moving on from the next gen car, the last big topic I would like to tackle today esports, iRacing. So Coca-Cola has become the new title sponsor of NASCAR's iRacing series. And with this announcement, they also announced that the prize pool for this upcoming season is over $300,000. That is a major increase from last year when I think it was a $200,000 pot. The NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series will be broadcast once again on NBCSN 6 times this year. I believe they will all be during the playoff races for that series. And the series champion, they announced, will receive $100,000. Woo. This is a huge investment from a major brand into the world of sim racing. The validity of iRacing, or sim racing in general, has been it's always been debated, but I feel like it's been more publicly debated here in recent months, and I think that's largely due to the high-profile success and publicity that iRacing has gotten just in the last calendar year. Remember last year they broadcasted a few iRacing events on NBCSN on national television, drew in large audiences, a lot of conversation on social media. Those events were successes for the brand, for the series. And I tend to believe a major endorsement here from Coca-Cola is only going to continue these debates, because the truth is, the more success you have, the more fans you're gonna have, but also the more haters you're gonna have. That's the truth of it. And there are a lot of people who kind of are skeptical or do not buy into the sim racing as a valid thing. I'm not good at choosing my words right now, sorry. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and argue that sim racing, sitting in your house on a steering wheel plugged into your PC, playing in front of a screen, I'm never gonna act like that is an equal substitute to actually driving a real race car on a real racetrack. I mean, it's a completely different feel. It is very different, but that isn't to say that there aren't skills that you learn sim racing that can be translated into a successful career on the real racetrack. I mean, we've seen top NASCAR drivers use iRacing to practice for new racetracks, to just work in the off season. I mean, it's a very commonly used tool by the best in the business. So anyone who's really doubting their validity, acting like sim racers don't have any talent or that sim racing isn't real racing. I've always hated the phrase, that isn't real racing. Racing is racing, come on y'all. May not be your favorite type of racing. I'm not saying you have to love sim racing, but you cannot dismiss iRacing, sim racing. You cannot dismiss it as pointless. It has a purpose, and there is skill, and there is entertainment to be had in watching sim racing. But here's the main reason that Coca-Cola and other brands are getting into esports these days, getting into it these days. Number one, it's cheap. Sim racing is cheap when it comes to racing. Getting a serviceable iRacing setup, a decent PC, maybe a steering wheel, the game obviously, is pretty freaking affordable, especially compared to buying a real race car and supplying a real race car and a real race team. In sim racing, you can race pretty much anyone you know from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to drive out into the middle of nowhere and stay overnight. Another key thing, distribution for these iRacing events is extremely cheap. Anyone can live stream an iRacing, a simulated race, can stream their perspective, stream the entire race if they want, from their own computer to a limitless audience for basically nothing. You don't need to bring out a whole TV crew to broadcast the race on their network. You can stream an iRacing event from anywhere for almost nothing, and the audience that it can reach is limitless. It is infinite. iRacing in general is just more cost efficient than most short track racing these days. That's just the truth, and that's why you have guys like Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Kyle Larson opening and beginning their own esports teams this year, because they see the potential there and they see the growth, and it's cheap, it's affordable. Now let me make this clear, just because you may support iRacing, you might support esports, does not mean you shouldn't go support your local short track. Let me be honest, would I rather stay at home and watch a live stream of an esports and iRacing race, or would I rather go to my local short track and watch real race cars go in circles? I'd much rather go to the local short track. That is a more fun experience. But is it a more efficient, is it a more accessible experience? No. Just sitting at home watching a live stream on my phone is way more accessible and way easier than driving out to a local short track. Hence why sim racing has blown up the last couple of years, especially the last year. It's as simple as that. That's the basic explanation I can give. Again, just because we support iRacing, just because Coca-Cola is into this whole sim racing thing, doesn't mean that sponsors should completely ignore local short tracks, because those are really great. That's great, that's incredible. As I do prefer short track racing to iRacing, but I'm not gonna sit here and discredit iRacing as some inferior form of racing. Like, none of us have the credibility to make that type of statement. Nobody has that ability, What's great racing to one person is not necessarily gonna be great racing to another person. Everyone has a completely different opinion on that. That's a completely subjective claim to make, and so nobody should be able to make it. Nobody should be able able to state an opinion as pure fact and demand that everybody else respect it as a fact. It's an opinion. It is a purely subjective opinion, what you believe, what you think of sim racing and iRacing. That's all I have to say about that. But good news for iRacing, good news for young racers all around the world, all around everywhere. This is great news that a major brand is getting invested and that this series, this whole platform continues to grow astronomically. This is pretty great news, honestly. But let me know what you guys think down below. Are you excited about what's happening for iRacing and the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series? Of course, let me know what your thoughts are on the Hall of Fame voting process, and of course, NASCAR's next gen test. You think they're doing it right? You think they're doing it wrong? Let me know down in the comments. That's all I've got for today's episode. Thank you all a ton for watching. Subscribe if you are new. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. I'll be reacting. I mean, right now the ARCA race is probably happening by the time I'm uploading this video, so you know, I'm probably reacting to the ARCA race live. I'll be reacting to every NASCAR race live throughout the year on Twitter, so follow along over there. And of course, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. I could not do this show, could not go to these races that I'm gonna be going to here in the next couple months without the support I get from all of you on Patreon. So I hope you guys love the content I'm able to produce there. Hope you guys enjoy it, because I'm not able to do it without the support I get from you guys on Patreon. So thank you a ton for your support of me and support of the channel. Lots of big things in the works, like I said. I'll give you guys more details hopefully very, very soon, but thank you all a ton for watching, and I'll see you again here in the next couple of days. See you probably after the Clash. Clash is tomorrow. It's gonna be fun. Cup Series is back, NASCAR is back. I'm in a good mood. This is fun. Thanks for watching, everybody.